Hi, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
This is the ASMR Zoom meeting.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Greendale.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the beautiful town of Greendale. Step on into the Double E and see how the rooster fares. Hey,
Are you guys doing some kind of an ASMR thing? I want to get in on that.
I feel like Neil would be the last person they'd ask to do an ASMR.
Well, he'd do an ASMR, but it would sound like just electric trains going around in a circle.
Yeah, just a small whistle.
Yeah. Isn't that relaxing?
Yeah, he'd chime in every once in a while. Now this is the 346 model. Got this one in Ottawa back in 1962.
This will put you right to sleep. It's got a sleeper car.
Can we talk about
this? This is a Lionel ZX1.
Can we talk about the serious lack of trains in the fictional town of Greendale?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. There's birds, right? Is there birds?
There's birds.
Probably some birds.
If you watch the movie, there's chickens. There's a peacock.
Oh, that's right. There's chickens. Yeah.
Wait, you did see the movie then?
There's a crow.
Yeah, I finally watched it.
How'd you find it? Was it on the archives?
Dude, the archives. Holy shit, man.
There's too much. I got it. You know what? I'm quitting the archives because
you know you're not.
It's too much. It's like I don't have time and I get depressed. You know, there's like so much stuff. I'll never get to it. Ever.
So
No, it's not possible.
2 or 3 nights ago, I just binged them. I watched the movie. I watched the Vicar Street.
Isn't that awesome? That helped me.
Shit.
That really helped me understand the story a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And because of that, I now want to make – I don't want to make it. I want to have someone make a HBO 6 or 8 part limited series based off of Greendale. Like a real fucking show.
Right.
Not like – and I love what Neil did with the movie and everything, but like a show that's just about that story with, you know, obviously like some playing with it a little bit. And I've already cast it. So
who do you got?
Okay, so Sun Green is going to be played by Maya Hawke.
Who's Maya Hawke?
She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, she was in the last season of Stranger Things. She's the blonde girl who works at the ice cream place.
Mm-hmm.
She's also Ethan Hawke.
That's Ethan Hawke's daughter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Who's she in Once Upon a Time? Is she one of the hippies or something?
Yeah, she's the girl. Remember when they all go up to kill
Maya Hawke?
She's the one that
okay,
leaves. My Jed. I went with Jesse Plemons, kind of typical, but I feel like he kind of nailed anything he does. So
I went with Wilbur Valderrama from the 70s show or whatever the fuck his name is. He'd be a great Jed, but he has to maintain that character he had in that 70s show. What was his name? Fez?
Fez, yeah.
Right. So he has to be Fez, but as Jed.
That's fair.
Okay.
My other casting for him would have been Russ. Who the fuck plays Jesse in Breaking Bad?
Oh,
Aaron
Paul.
Aaron Paul would be a decent Jed, maybe.
Jed, that basically is Jed, right? That's who Jed ends up being.
Kind of. Now you're dead, bitch, Carmichael. My Earl and Edith, Steve and Nancy Carell. Feel like they'd kind of nail that.
Oh, yeah. That'd be pretty good.
Grandpa, either Scott Glenn or Bruce Dern.
Is Bruce Dern still alive?
I think he is.
Yeah, man.
That'd be a good grandpa. Wait, did Peter Fonda die?
I think he did.
So, yeah.
Wagers, anyone? Wagers?
I'm gonna take the over and say
I think he did.
Died.
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay, because he'd be a good grandpa.
I'll look it up now, though.
Yeah.
Or
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, in 2019.
Oh, bummer. Let's go with Kurt Russell's grandpa.
Kurt Russell
and Goldie Hawn.
Kurt Russell would be a good Earl, actually. Kind of hipstery, really trying. I feel like Kurt Russell's just a good actor.
I think Kurt Russell would be a good Captain Green.
Ooh,
the sailor guy who doesn't like to come into town.
Captain John?
Wait, Shu, did you also watch the movie?
I watched, you know what I did watch was, what's it called? Inside Greendale. I watched most of that. And
That's the one I didn't watch.
That's basically the movie, but kind of it's interspersed with them actually recording it.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of cool. So and it's Goofy Neil, like Goofy from Human Highway. So he's got like weird, bad superimposed special effects and things. And then there's like talking in between of him talking with Crazy Horse going, we should do this. And I feel better playing this sitting down, stuff like that, you know. And that was really interesting. But I didn't see like just the movie. I watched that and I watched the Vicker Street performance because I have when I bought the CD.
Is Vicker Street the one where they acted out, right, on stage?
No, that's the one with just him, solo acoustic.
It's so good.
And he tells the story in between
songs. I saw the one with Crazy Horse where they acted out.
Right, that was Return to Greendale. No, was that from the Return to Greendale? That was like the actual U.S. tour.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Vicker Street, Russ, is also on Spotify. It's just called like Greendale Solo or something like that.
Oh yeah, Greendale Solo. It's great because he's doing the Neil thing and he's playing the whole thing before the album came out.
Yeah.
So the audience is completely clueless, you know, as to what's going. But it's great because he's telling the story in between songs.
It's so good.
But then, you know, I was like, I thought, you know, the booklet for the CD, it's almost like transcribed from that. Like it's not lyrics for every song. It's like what he's saying in between songs in Vicker Street.
That's pretty cool.
It's weird. Yeah.
Luke, is the actual movie only available on the tier thing that you have?
I think so. I don't know.
I don't think I saw it. So
it must be just on this tier.
Yeah, because I don't have that video tier yet.
There's so much to cover. Like when it comes to just the Greendale universe, I feel like between the album, the second release, which is just the same exact thing as the album. Did you guys notice this?
Yeah.
Why
what's the deal with that?
I thought Shu would be able to tell me, but I guess
no. I was listening. I was looking it up. I didn't get.
I know. Were you guys also listening? Like, is there any differences? Yeah. I was like trying to. It was like one of those fucking those puzzles you see in the dentist's office where you're like, what's the difference? Yeah. I was like, I didn't notice anything.
Yeah. The cat's eyes are closed. Yeah, that's it.
Russ is a huge highlights.
Highlights. That's what it is, man. I was trying to think of the name of that.
Highlights taught me everything I know about life. Are you a goofus or are you a
makes a lot of sense, actually, right?
I mean, I want to say I'm a gallant, but I'm definitely a goofus.
Well, that's pretty much Neil in a nutshell. It's the struggle between his goofus and his gallant, you know?
It really is.
Comes out in Greendale, you know, with Satan.
It really comes out. I feel like this album... There's so much. So I feel like we should end up doing more than one episode on this.
There's a lot. Yeah. And then it's like you don't know if you should read into it because he keeps saying, I really don't know what's going on either.
Right.
I mean, if you read the stuff that's in the CD booklet, he's like, well, I wrote most of it on the way to the studio in the car.
Yeah, which is insane to me.
Yeah, and it's like he'd drive and then he'd stop and then he'd write something and he'd drive a little more and then he'd stop. And then when he couldn't think of anything while he was driving, he said, I guess we're done.
Insane.
Right?
And you have those that you have Inside Greendale, then you have Return to Greendale.
Right. Well, that's you know what? Have you listened to that?
I haven't yet, no.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Like the playing on here is really scrappy. And I get it. It's super simple. They don't even have Poncho playing. It's just him and Ralphie.
Yeah, I was wondering why Poncho wasn't in this.
He wanted to keep it so stripped down because he wanted the story to take.
That's kind of what I figured, but I wasn't sure if there was another.
But live, man, the Return to Greendale is so good because it's Crazy Horse jamming live, and it sounds awesome. It's really good.
Well, so eventually we'll do more Greendale stuff. Like we should probably cover the movie in depth when we'll get to Return to Greendale.
Yeah, it would be good. Also, because Ben Keith plays Grandpa, right?
He does. Long Green. And he's great.
Long Green, yeah.
And you didn't see that yet, Russ?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you want to get a whole like box of Kleenex for that one.
Yeah.
You're going to be like blowing loads left and right because he's amazing.
All different kinds of loads.
Yeah, there's going to be just, long grain loads, short grain brown loads.
Yeah.
Basmati loads.
Welcome back, youngsters.
Welcome back. 51.
Seaman has entered the building.
Yep.
This is our Neil Young podcast where we mostly talk out of our ass while going through the works of Mr. Young. It's Mike Shue and the Condon Boys, Trans and Harvest and Illinois. We're gonna sit and listen to each one. It's Long May You Young.
Welcome to Long May You Run, the only
Nope.
Neil Young podcast.
What is this,
Did
the
I say
first
run
episode?
again? Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Mike,
I
he resets every 50
Yeah.
episodes.
Right.
He's like
After
he's
a
like
year,
a
if I
fucked
don't
up
change-
Pennywise. He's a fucked up Neil Young Pennywise.
If I don't change my password after a year, it shuts down my whole system. I've only had half a drink. Welcome to Long May You Young, the only Neil Young podcast I think we're the only ones out there, I think, pretty much. That's why I love when people say, you're the best Neil Young podcast out there. I'm like, oh, thanks. That's really fucking nice. We're part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, and this week we are covering Neil Young's, some people call it an opera, but I wouldn't call it an opera. Some people call it like an audio novel.
A concept
it's more
album,
like
maybe?
that. Yeah, concept album. I wouldn't call it an opera. Has like reoccurring musical themes, right?
Well, we know it can't be an opera because Neil himself said earlier that he'll never be an opera star.
That's
So
true. That's true,
impossible.
Luke. Good point. So we'll get into Greendale. It's a very complicated story, but from what I've read about Neil coming up with the idea, it sounds like he just, it's so Neil, just kind of came up with it and very quickly wrote it all down and got in with Crazy Horse and wrote it and played it.
great.
And some people call it a masterpiece. The word amateur has come up a lot in some reviews I read. Also, a really nice one from the Washington Post, a vanity project gone stupefyingly wrong, which is a nice...
Jesus.
It's also been compared, and on the opposite side, it's been compared to Thornton Wilder's Our Town. I don't know if you guys had to read that in high school. Or
I did, but I don't
No,
remember it at all.
I had to play the dad in a play once.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's a pretty good book. But yeah, it has, if you've read that, it's kind of like that. It's about one particular family that's done well in this small town, but under like that gloss on the front, there's a lot of shit going on. And that's, Russ, when you talk about themes in the past, I think the theme of Greendale, there's a lot of subjects covered in it, like the environment and corruption and media and privacy, but still, I think the theme here is secrets. There are a lot of secrets
Yes.
in different levels, not just with the Green family who are the subject of this, but with also the news and the government and everything like that. There's a lot of things we don't know about them. Kind of like, David Lynch, the director, his films are kind of like that. There's always this kind of Happy Days, 50s vibe thing, but under all that, there's some really fucked up shit.
Well,
going on.
what is it, Shue? Is it Blue Velvet where it starts?
Yeah.
It starts the beneath the earth thing where it's like, what is like a fucking worms and shit or something like that?
Yeah.
What is it?
And then it pans out and they're eating an ear.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And then
being
it
cut
goes
off.
to the small town story thing. And
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. That's very, very similar.
Yeah, so this is kind of like that. It's like a lot of secrets. This family has done well in this town for many years. There's there's a few generations. The town seems like it's pretty cozy and quiet, but underneath it all, there's something there. And Satan is prominent in this story, apparently. So when you add Satan, it always gets really exciting.
I had in my HBO miniseries reenactment, I had Joel McHale cast as Satan. I feel like he would do a great job. Also, I wanted the Greendale tie-in.
Yeah, you needed to have a
Community,
Greendale tie-in.
That would be awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Hey, it's
That'd be
Saturday.
great.
Call me Craig.
I feel like Howie Mandel should be included in this cast.
He
I
could
just
play.
have a feeling.
He could
I
play
don't know, man.
Officer
In these-
Carmichael.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
In these COVID days, I don't know if he could swing it.
that's true.
We'll film it
Well,
next year.
He can wear a rubber suit.
And actually, I had for Captain John, I had Neil himself. I feel like that would be a good cameo for Neil.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be
anyway.
cool. Or no, you know what? Neil and Crazy Horse would be the
No, because then
what's the band down at
the Imitators?
The Imitators, yeah.
No, because then I feel like if Neil was Captain John, he'd come in singing Cripple Creek Ferry, and she wouldn't be able to watch it.
I would love
like
that.
This movie's great, and
all alone,
Lucas,
the captain,
the producer,
stands.
would be like, all right, you got to do Cripple Creek Ferry because there's this guy in Worcester, Massachusetts who fucking hates that song. It makes him kill animals.
Yeah, that's what I. Speaking of killing animals, rip that cat, huh?
I know. Seriously.
Jeez.
Again, secrets, right? The FBI.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, that was one of I know a lot of people have differing opinions, but I was kind of impressed with some of Neil's like detail work.
Oh God, yeah, dude.
Like I was pleasantly surprised with his writing skills as far as just straight up storytelling. I was like, the little details he put in. I know we'll get more into it, but just off the bat, I wanted to say, because you brought up the cat, and I was like, that was a detail that I like honed in on, and I was like, wow, that's cool that he's doing shit like that, you know?
Yeah. And not only that, I feel like it as an album.
Almost, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying it flows perfectly, and it's like the perfect. I can't like even describe how well he nailed what he was trying to do, because each song stands alone, but it still like carries it. Nothing feels shoehorny. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. Nothing feels like he's trying to like, well, I gotta slip this character in. It just, it feels very natural. And
yeah, it does. It seems like if you like finding a cut song here would be tough because it would kind of break the whole story. Yeah. Much like a game of Jenga.
Which is interesting. I'll be interested to see what you guys have for your cut song.
I didn't write one down. I figured I'd pick one by the end of this. I don't know. I have a top 3 written down, but not a.
I have a song, but I wouldn't call it a cut song because, like I said, it's tough to cut. I'd have a song that would probably keep the story going if it was removed.
That's what I have. That's what I. Like which is my. I'll just spoil. Do you want me to spoil it? Do you want to just spoil it?
No. Let's wait till we
hold it. Okay, fine. But I agree, Shu. It's the same thing. Where if you took this one out, the story still goes, but with it in there, it also goes perfectly well. Right. So it's just because we have to pick a cut song. That's the one. But same thing. And I wonder if ours is the same. I'll be interested to see.
I would, and kind of hopping on what you were talking about, Russ, about the details and the lyrics. This is, we haven't recorded in probably 2 or 3 weeks now, so I've listened to this album a ton, and I think this is top 5 Neil albums as far as like songwriting goes. Like lyrically,
really,
some of the lines like just like smack me in the face.
There are some really
I wrote a few down that just like every time I heard them, I'm like, holy shit. Like, and like there's the obvious ones like I won't retire, but I might retread. I fucking love that. And then in the devil's sidewalk, it's a simple thing trying to stay afloat. The captain said without his boat. Mm-hmm. I just like every fucking thing about it. Sorry, I'm going to read all these. In Leave the Driving, which is an incredible song.
Well, that title line itself is great. But go ahead.
He heard the sound of the future on a scratchy old 78. And then at the end when he goes, the moral of the story is try not to get too old. The more time you spend on Earth, the more you see unfold.
Right.
I just feel like he nailed it lyrically. Like, and it's got to be pretty impossible. He's basically writing a musical, but it's not a musical. He's writing an album, but it's not an album. Do you know what I mean? And he made them both work somehow. And the music is good too. Like Crazy Horse is great in this. And I think their most different album up to this point. It's not like wild and flashy. It's like contained, but it's still raw and it's unpolished. It's like, but it has to be unpolished. It feels demo-y, like.
It's very demo-y. It's very lo-fi demo, even though they recorded it in like in Plywood Digital, one of his studios. And,
right.
I think it's because they did it so quickly. Right. And but it's not about Crazy Horse jamming. You know, it's not like Broken Arrow, you know, or Rust Never Sleeps. He's very concentrated on the narrative. Yeah. And so that's probably, I tried to look up why Poncho wasn't there. The only thing I found was he just wanted it to be as minimal as possible because he wanted the story to come out front. I don't know if like Poncho was dealing drugs somewhere or transporting explosives, something.
I heard he shot a police officer.
Oh, really?
Because the guy found cocaine in his car.
Because Satan was in the back of his car. Because he saw David Briggs in his rearview mirror.
I heard this whole album is about Poncho.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's very. I think it's demo-y because it's obviously it's live but recorded quickly, but the music is so laid back for Crazy Horse. There's not a lot of crazy ass noisy solos and stuff. It's all got a kind of a swing, like the Blue Notes kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, some of it's
know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's a swing to it, like an old blues, like Jimmy Reed, T-Bone Walker kind of thing, like the Blue Notes.
Well, and I mean, he's straight up in fucking, what is it, in Sun Green? Is that the one? Yeah, when he straight up mentions John Lee Hooker as far as the name of the establishment that the Imitators are playing at, and then he goes into that John Lee Hooker riff, which again, I love these choices that he makes. Even in the story, it's like the perfect blend of him telling the story and then using the medium of him playing, using the music to also tell the story in its own way. But like you said, he's not overdoing it. He's not crazy horsing the fuck out so that it's in the way of the story.
Yeah.
Like with that in particular, he mentions that, okay, this band is playing at this place called John Lee's, and right before that, he's playing that like infamous John Lee Hooker blues riff.
I can't believe I've listened to it so many times. You saying that is the first time I'm putting that together. Is that it was
there's
John
a ton.
Lee's.
I feel like there's a ton of stuff in this record that I'm sure you'll bring up stuff that I didn't know, or missed or whatever. It's like, but that was one of those things for me where I was like, man, that's so cool that he did that. He's just, it's great. And then he does it every time. Every time he, we'll talk about when we get to that song, but every time he goes back to that bar in the story, he plays that riff again. That's great.
Wow. That's fucking cool.
Yep.
So as I don't know if you're keeping that part in, but as we said before, he wrote this stuff. It says anyway, who knows? It says anyway in the booklet to the CD that he wrote this stuff in the car on the way to the studio every day. And he would drive, and then when he'd think of something, he'd stop and write it down. And he'd drive a little more, sometimes like another 500 feet, and he'd stop and he'd write it down. So that's kind of how these songs were written, that way. Which to me,
it'd be so funny if Neil was writing this because this was right before smartphones. But it would be so funny if Neil was writing this in the smartphone days while he's driving, and instead of pulling over, he just like talks into his phone and he's like,
Siri.
So Lenore, there's an envelope, and Lenore no, you know what? I think Jed's in the jail, and he's just like,
hey, Jed's in jail, period. And
he says the exclamation.
Was he having a relationship with Lenore? ?
Hey Siri, kill the cat by the end.
Yeah, but it doesn't read him right, and then he gets all pissed off.
Yeah. Transcription is useless. I got to build something.
God damn it!
I got to build instead of Siri, like something maybe called a Pono.
So then we find out Neil invented the smartphones.
Right.
Perfect time traveling vampire story. Him getting mad about not being able to talk into his Pono system correctly means it led to the invention of a smartphone.
Can we talk about the album cover, the map?
Yeah.
Because that plays a huge part in the movie, and I know we'll do a whole other episode on the movie, but it's fucking cool, and it's also like, there it is.
Oh wait, we're not. I'm not on the Breaking the Ice podcast. We're not showing the video. Sorry.
Yeah, but Mike just showed he was just bragging to us that he has the CD, and I'm
there you go,
because I'm jealous. But
do you want me to take a video, Mike? I'll post it on Instagram for you.
All right, make me look pretty.
That's actually a good idea.
There you go. Now people will know what the fuck you're talking about. There it is, everybody. Go to Instagram and look at Mike Shue hold up his Greendale cover.
Well, they already have. It's like a weird Terminator timeline thing.
Right. Yeah, sorry.
Come with me if you want to live.
He mentions the map in in each song. It's like I said,
I'll be a bird.
It's like him explaining the song, but stream of consciousness, and it's really hard to understand. And but he says about the map that's where the road ends. Like when you're leaving the city limits, then that's where he said that's where it all ends. That's where the road ends. And he's pretty adamant about that. He says it a few times, like nothing, it's almost like nothing exists beyond the Greendale city limits.
Oh man.
Or town limits or something like that. But that's done, it's all done by the same guy who did the Zuma artwork.
Yeah. You can tell. And it's I think I want that as a poster, like a huge poster. I also I feel like that'd be kind of a cool tattoo. Just the map.
Greendale map?
Yeah, right? Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
It'd be a big
you don't
one.
have enough skin on your body.
Yeah, I do.
Do it on your belly, actually.
Does
That'd
this
be great.
remind
He's
you
got
of
enough room
something?
on his belly, Shoe.
Look at that.
There you go.
No, it's on that bird.
Not yet.
No.
Mike Shoe's holding up another picture, everyone. I'm not taking a video of that.
But all the the artwork is pretty interesting. There's the most disturbing one is Jed with the gun and Carmichael looking in the window.
Oh wow.
He's got it right up under his chin. Yeah.
Jesus. That's quite a
Pretty
shot.
brutal.
Yeah, it's cool in the movie because the movie's basically just a huge music video for the whole album. But right before each song, it starts with the map and then it zooms in closer to the section of the map he's talking about in the song that's coming up, and then it gets into the actual movie part of it. And I don't know, it's pretty awesome. I really like it.
Well, just in case, this is going to sound stupid, but just in case this is their first time listening to this podcast and they don't know anything about Greendale, this album, or anything about it, how would you go about explaining what this record is you know what I mean? What would you guys say to someone who's interested in Neil Young and then somehow this is their first, because didn't someone on Facebook say this was their first concert?
Yeah, and they wrote confusing.
Right.
Yeah. I would call it a concept album. If I had, that's how because I obviously, same as you, Russ, grew up on Pedro the Lion and idolizing David Bazan and albums like Control and Winners Never Quit. But then even an album like Tommy or even Sgt. Pepper's to some extent, where it kind of follows, but this is just much more detailed.
A lot of David Bowie stuff too.
Yeah, Ziggy Stardust for sure. Mm-hmm. But even more than that, where Neil's very intricate about his characters and
it's much more on the nose.
Yeah. But is this is his first only thing that he does like this?
I think so. I don't think there's any. Is there later stuff that we haven't got to yet? I don't think so.
Well,
I feel like this is the only thing.
I wanted to ask you guys, and I know people have different definitions of concept album, but what would you say are some of the most notable or best concept albums in your own opinions?
So not rock operas, but concept albums.
I feel like a rock opera could be included.
Okay.
Mike, would you count 2112?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
2112.
I was going to say I would.
What about The Wall?
Oh yeah, God, The Wall, way up there. Yeah, I mean, if you talk about The Wall or any of the previous albums like Animals,
Dark Side
of the Moon.
What about Pet Sounds?
I don't know about Pet Sounds.
You know what? That is, I don't know if he meant that to be a concept album.
But it kind of ended up as one. Yeah.
It's about being a teenager and planning that life where you're going to get a job and get married and have kids right after high school. Mm-hmm. And then going out and finding out your plans don't always work out the way they should. Yeah. And that's why I love Pet Sounds so much. And I'm not a big fan of the Beach Boys, but I think we've all gone.
Oh, that record's revolutionary. And I was listening to Your Favorite Band Sucks, and they were talking about the Beatles and stuff, and they were saying how Pet Sounds was pretty revolutionary and influential to Sgt. Pepper's. And
McCartney still says, doesn't he say, what is it, God Only Knows is his favorite song of all time, or the best song ever written or something?
But it is that and that record was such a shift. But anyway, to answer the question, no one's gonna know this one, Luke, but you'll know it. For me, it's Brave Saint Saturn.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
and that's a triple.
The Light of Things Hoped For is probably my favorite concept album.
I re-listened to that the other day, and I was talking to Babe about this, and this is just for you, Russ, so I'll make this quick, but the little interludes on Anti-Meridian where he's just it's kind of hard to talk about it. That's for no one else, and I'll stop
I
right
know,
there.
it's just us. You might as well just cut that out.
But I feel a lot of emo-y albums are like that.
Yeah.
The first like 6 Coheed and Cambria albums, right?
Yeah, kind of.
It's like all the same story, you know.
Even Blink-182. What's the fucking one?
They didn't have a concept album, did they?
No, they didn't. I think in my mind, I just pieced certain songs together because I was a freaking dork. Like Dashboard, I think is a concept album about me and the girls I'm in love with. But yeah, no, I love a good, and I was trying to look up the definition because I always thought it was like an album that told a story, but it's not always that. It's just like an album that like has one concept and all the songs point to the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think
this is more of a story.
Right.
So I guess it would be a concept album, but would you call it a musical?
It feels
so close
to me.
to
It's
one.
very it's toeing the fucking line. If it's not,
because it's not like if you listen to Tommy, it has reoccurring musical themes. You know, the "We're Not Going to Take It" theme comes up through the whole thing, and Sparks comes up through the whole thing. But here, it doesn't have a reoccurring musical, like a piece that keeps coming back that holds it all together, like an opera does.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like almost like an audio. It's
audio novel
or audio book.
Yeah,
so it's super unique, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a
and I love that
way.
I love that Neil did that at this point in his life and at this point in his success, career, whatever you want to label. Like he still decided what was it 2000 fucking 3? Yeah, that he's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna make an album that just tells a story, you know, and even though he did that, the music is still great. There's still moments in here where I'm like, goddamn, that's great playing.
Yeah.
You know, and just some of the, and I know you guys were saying, and I agree, it has a very lo-fi demo feel at times, but there are choices he makes creatively, and even just like silly things some people might consider silly that I think work so well. Even just like switching to and when you watch the live performances, he does this live where he must have created those mic stands too, right? Did you see those fucking mic stands where
on the Vicker Street thing?
No, this was not because that's where he's alone, right? I didn't see that. So I'm talking about the one where they act the story out live.
Oh, okay. I gotta watch that.
And do you know what I'm talking about, Shu? Where he's got those crazy mic stands that like arch over, and then at the end of it he has the megaphone, the harmonica, and then the regular mic, and then the megaphone's on the front of an actual megaphone is on the front of the mic stand. And then he's got that like weird thing that juts forward where he can put his where he can put like, I don't know, lyric sheets maybe, I don't know, but there's like a little holder, you know.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I was like that seems to me, I look at it and I'm like, that seems like Neil engineering, you know. Neil engineering
something in his shed.
100%, dude.
He was probably making some kind of load in, load out thing for model trains.
Yeah.
Like, this would be a great mic stand.
Yeah. I could put my megaphone over here.
Yeah.
But when he's doing it live, he literally switches to whichever, if he's going to play harmonica, he goes to that microphone. If he's going to speak into the megaphone, he switches live. And it felt, when I'm listening to this record, it felt like not even that was overdubbed. That felt live too. It felt like when he was doing the megaphone stuff, he was doing that live in this recording, you know? And I think it works. I think it works really well. And it's just so fucking Neil, man, you know?
Yeah.
If you watch the Vicker Street stuff, to your guys' point, the songs acoustically are still really good. In fact, some of them I prefer.
I was going to say that
acoustic performance because
I gotta watch it. I have to admit, I didn't watch it.
Especially Bandit. Which, which is such a great song, but to see him play it like solo acoustic, it really like just cuts right through you.
Oh God, yeah,
it's really good. So if anyone has a chance to watch the Vicker Street show, it's just him solo.
I'll watch it by the time we do the movie episode.
Yeah, it's Russ. It's so good. Mike, I 100% agree. There are some that I prefer, and none of them are. I feel like none of these songs are bad on either. I don't know if this is going to make sense to either of you guys, but it reminds me of Manchester Orchestra's Hope and Cope. Do either you guys like?
I'm not familiar with that. No.
Yeah.
Well, they released it's 2 albums of the same exact songs, but they're just done. One's done like kind of more like emo and slower, and the other one is a little heavier. But there are some I like more on this, and some I like more on the other one, and this kind of reminds me of that. But that Vicar Street one, good lord, it's great. Yeah, Bandits one, even like Double E on that is great. And I obviously like them both, but it's something about him just really, I don't know.
Well, it's like when we saw him live, Luke, the 2 different times. You know, we saw him with The Promise and the Real in a fucking huge stadium, and then we saw him at the Wang or Wilbur? Which one was it?
Wang.
The Wang, and it was just him.
The one named after a dick.
But you know, he's playing a song like Ohio, and it's just him, and he's still playing it on electric. But it's just him, and it has this different feel to it, where you really are. It puts you in this. You can kind of step back and see that it's still a great song, no matter how it's done. You know.
Yeah.
And so I imagine it's very similar. So should we just briefly like summarize, tell the story, and then get into the songs, or how do you want to go about it?
That's not a bad idea. Can I we had one review. If you leave us a 5-star review, we'll read it no matter what you say. This is another one from Nick Anderhoey, who's left us a few, but this is perfect. And sometimes it takes a few weeks for the review to hit. So this is an interesting, like the timing is kind of nice on this one. But he writes, best podcast out there. He says, from Issaquah, Washington, east of Seattle, smiley face. Greendale. It's a town meeting reference, yeah. But then he writes, Greendale. Billy and Ralphie are just solid. Neil's harmonica is just wicked. Great licks abound on this album. Carmichael is great. Where's Pancho San Pedro? Why 2 identical releases? Also, I love Neil's guitars, the D45, Hank's D28, the D18, and in parentheses, he writes Sugar Mountain, I Am a Child, the Gretsch, and Old Black. Thanks for 50 superb shows. Someday you'll find everything you're looking for. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Nick.
We need to have Nick Anderhoey on so that we can do a gear episode with him, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
I think, who was it? Was it Adam Morin told us we need to talk more about gear?
That would be a good.
And none of us have ever really gotten into the gear side of Neil.
I always want to act like I know what any of those things. I don't know what a D45 is.
I have no idea. We were like talking in code.
Old Black. I'm like, oh, I know that one.
Yeah, that one.
That's
that
one.
Yeah.
I know our youngsters out there are like, what the fuck, guys?
I got a tweet from a longtime youngster, Ricky Harvey, on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, Ricky.
Congrats on the 50th episode. Long may you young, and thanks so much for inviting me to Zoom. And after being one of your earliest and most loyal listeners, haven't missed an episode yet. I'll try to forgive you for the oversight. Well, Ricky, we appreciate you listening to all the episodes and being there from the very beginning.
Yes, we do.
Hell yeah.
But we put the Zoom link out there.
Yeah.
For everybody. Pretty much. If sorry you missed it, but
how did they miss it? Was it?
Did we not tweet it? Maybe we didn't.
No, I tweeted it out.
Oh, all right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I tweeted it the night before and the day of.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
For if Dan Moshpit got it, then
if Dan Moshpit got it. Moshpit, where were you?
Yeah, anybody.
Special appearance by Dan Moshpit. Dan, what are you doing in the chat room?
I can't just find every Dan Moshpit reference and throw that.
You better write that down, Lukey. You better write
that
down
old
the
bed
time.
underneath it.
Write the time signature down there, Bubs.
But thanks to everybody for joining in. That was a lot of fun.
So much fun, yeah.
Thanks for the folks who stayed up late in Europe.
Good Lord, yeah.
I want to give a special shout to John Locke, because he's coming to see Town Meeting on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think he might be our first real youngster that's going to come see the show.
Awesome. Yeah, so, thanks. Finally, nice meeting John Locke.
I think Sarah Lynn would disagree with that.
I know, yeah. Well,
I know what you mean, though.
But I mentioned Instagram earlier, and after my little weird vocal thing that I just did there, let me shout out Mental Picnic said, good episode.
I love that.
Yeah. It said, good episode. Wish I could have been. Sorry, let me read that again. because Mike Shue, you did a bit earlier, and I'm going to add on to it. Good episode! Exclamation point! Wish I could have been present to go neck and neck with Vinyl Bob. Yeah, Vinyl Bob was fucking killing it.
He was fucking working. He was like in a vinyl bunker in Switzerland. He's like a Bond villain that collects records.
He really is, dude. Yeah. He's in the place that all the 1%ers are going to go in the world finally.
Right, yeah.
Vinyl Bob's going to DJ all the fucking Rothschilds and the Clintons and the Gateses. You know, he's going to
maintaining the vinyl. What is it? The vinyl. What is the register? The vinyl register. So after the apocalypse, he's got every bit of vinyl that's ever been released. Just like they have that seed storage thing, like Northern Norway. Oh, yeah. So in case the apocalypse happens, we still have seeds to grow. He's got all the vinyl.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's definitely
Burritos album, the first one after Graham Parsons left. Oh yeah, I got it right here, and he gets it in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, dude, he was working. He was moving.
Yeah, he was doing really well.
He's definitely the audio version of that Twilight Zone episode where like the world's gonna end and he's gonna have that's fine. I got all my vinyl, but then he's gonna have like he's gonna burn his ears or something.
Yeah, that one was great. A couple more Instagram things. At Instagram, we're at Long May You Young. Mostly just on the 50th, the 1 year episode, because everyone really had a blast. And so some people were just like saying they wish they could have been on there. Mikey Long Music, who we've brought up a bunch of times. Happy 1 year, lads. Been listening since TTN dropped. Great to see/hear you interacting with the fans and sharing the love. #FNM. Larso Lawson, who again we brought up. It's a family now. Would like to join another time, and I will say again, we will definitely probably do that another time.
Sure. Yeah.
And then one last thing, just because I like to shout out new subscribers, new followers. Snake the Jakes said, "You like that name, don't you, Shu?"
Yeah, I bet he's wearing cowboy boots right now.
He is.
Yeah,
and he's got snakes in those boots.
Oh, they're snake skin, motherfucker.
I'm not playing an Ennio Morricone bed.
You better play Ennio Morricone.
You got to play Born to Be Wild.
Snake the Jake said, "I look forward to the pod every day. Thank you, sirs."
Nice.
I don't know if I'd go as far as calling us sirs, but we do appreciate the love.
I prefer Esquire.
Whoa, that's so weird. Snake the Jakes just sent us a
picture
meme.
Of his boots?
Oh. Yeah. Picture of his snakes. No, I'm just kidding. He sent a picture, a DM to us, a meme. Look what it is, Shu. It's the same one you sent us on the text earlier.
Oh, no shit.
That's great. How weird is that?
I got to post that on the Long May You Young Facebook page.
Yeah.
Because it's great. It's a great picture of Mellencamp and Willie Nelson and Neil. I'll just post it up there. People can look at it. I did post the Greendale album for some comments on the Facebook page. Can I read a couple before we get into it? Matt Devlin said, "Fucking Greendale, man. Truly all one
Matt
song.
Devlin's on the call.
Just all one song in 10 chapters. An audio novel where the narrative weaves through the lyrics and continues unfolding throughout the moody jams. For my money, it's Neil's most artistically successful concept album." So that implies that he thinks there's another concept album.
Some people claim after the Gold Rush, because it was loosely based off of that, was it Tamblyn who wrote to write it?
It was, what's his name? The other guy that was in...
Yeah, fucking...
Dean Stockwell.
So people say that is a little bit of one, and some people say maybe Zuma is a little bit of one, but I'd
say On the Beach comes close. Or Tonight's the Night. I mean, Tonight's the Night has a common theme through it.
Yeah.
I guess, or at least a common inspiration.
Yeah. But none of them, as far as I feel like.
Yeah, Shu, I agree. I was going to say On the Beach, but I don't know if it's. I just don't think it. I mean, maybe like the last songs, but yeah, I mean, we don't need to sit here and make an argument for it. You brought it up, and I agree. I think that would be one that would be a contender, but I don't think it makes enough of a. I don't think it fits the bill enough. So
I think the common theme in On the Beach is the honey slides.
Yeah, exactly.
That comes out
and the alligator crawls.
Yes. Mario Balf says, "Is there a more fucking Neil Mann moment in his career than Greendale? Although not my favorite album, it's the one I go back to most often. It's honestly, he calls it his guilty pleasure."
Huh. I can see why he'd say that.
Honestly, I don't know. He might not be too off, assuming Mario identifies as he. That is there? I mean, fucking Neil, man. It would be curious to add up to do the math on like what people consider a fucking Neil man moment is.
The 80s.
I know the 80s are.
The 80s was a fucking Neil man moment. The whole
yes,
80s.
I agree, but as far as I don't know. I think there's a good argument to be made for Greendale.
Well, here's how you do it: go back and listen to every episode of this podcast.
There you go.
And then every time we say fucking Neil man, make a montage of it and tell us why we said it.
Yeah, sell it, brother.
Wait, Shu, can you read the Lars? I already read something from Lars O. Lawson, I think, but can you read that one on Facebook?
Is there one? Oh, here it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Lars O. Lawson. The birth of literal Neil. Charming concept, but not many strong melodies.
Wait, you need to read that punctuation as Neil.
Oh, what the fuck is that? What do you call that?
I don't know. That's why I wanted you to try to read it.
I don't know what you call that.
Is it a semicolon?
Neil? Question mark?
No, it's like a weird double.
It's those double point, like double greater than.
Is it a double E?
No, it used to be a double L, but
looks like
it does kind of look like a double L, actually.
Yeah,
that makes me mad as hell.
The last concert with Neil I went to opened with, and then those things, "Be the Rain." He opened with "Be the Rain." Oh, Jesus,
isn't that interesting? But he said, "As it poured down."
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
All right.
That's a fucking Neil moment.
Said,
right
Lars also said that's a good memory. I can imagine if it was pouring outside and Neil's playing that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome Neil move. Right. Yeah. You know, not a lot of bands do that. They just stick to the set list or whatever.
Also, I want to, just because Ian was our first Zoom call, right? On that episode, Ian Dawson.
Oh, yeah.
I want to read his comment.
From Leeds.
Well. Yeah. Ian said, not my favorite, but certainly interesting. Looking forward to the episode. Well, we're doing it now, Ian.
This one's for you, Ian.
Well, and
rock out, brother.
And we should give a quick shout out to Scott Parks and to Pete from Pantheon.
Are they coming on or no?
No, they neither could make it. We're so May and June. I think what we're running into, all my kids play multiple sports. Mike is back to working full time, and now me and Russ are booking a shit ton of shows again. So this podcast it might get a little bit like we might miss a few weeks here and there.
We might have to move it to bi-weekly.
It might have to, yeah. Because
that's a lot of. I mean, between your kids and the band and jobs and life. I mean, it's we love doing this, but there's stuff that we have to get done.
Yeah, and we'll say it will be at least bi-weekly, if not weekly. But so apologies to those guys.
Yeah, we're doing our best.
I didn't get notify them. They both asked. Scott's one of our top fans and buys our merch. And
some of you might be listening to us because of Scott, because he got us.
Yeah,
lots of rock in the suburbs and Pete obviously.
You're listening to us definitely because
Pantheon.
Of
Pete.
And he's one of the biggest Neil Young fans that I know. His Neil Young credentials are
huge. Neil
just astounding.
I think he did
tons of shows. He's seen a bunch of Bridge School benefits.
And he did a thing called Neil versus Everybody, where he would argue he would just have someone bring up any band and argue why Neil's better than them. But
we'll have Pete on eventually for sure.
We'll have them on.
Rush.
But I think that's what's kind of nice about this album is both of them whose opinions I respect a ton. Although Scott, not so much because he really likes 80s Neil. But both of them said if I could come on for any album, it would be Greendale.
Yeah.
So I just think that's...
Well, maybe we'll get him on for the movie episode and we can just revisit.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
We can retread.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, Shu, you've got the best voice. So why don't you give us a summary, a light summary of the story.
A synopsis.
A synopsis, if you will.
Once upon a time,
that's nice.
There were three bears. So Greendale is this town that Neil made up. It's, I assume, on the California coast. And I assume it's around where he lives or around the Santa Cruz area or something like that. Anyway, it's a very sleepy, cozy town where things have been relatively calm for a long time. And there's the Green family, who are a prominent family in the town. And there is, I got to keep track here, there's Grandma and Grandpa Green, who live in the town. And then there's Edith and Earl Green, who live on the Double E Ranch just outside of town. Now, he explained that in the Vicker Street gig, he explained that Grandma Green had two girls with two different Green brothers.
Yes.
Is that right? I'm
Something
getting that right.
weird like that. Right?
Yeah.
So grandma's maiden is not green, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. Right.
Gotcha.
So she had
She's
a
married.
baby with another Green brother. I'm assuming Captain Green, who was another
maybe.
character who was Grandpa's brother.
I thought it was even a different one than that because remember in Double E, Grandma ain't been the same ever since Grandpa's gone. So maybe that's the one she's talking about instead.
I think that was a timeline jump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He does that.
Okay.
He Quentin's us around a couple of
Yes,
times.
he does. Yeah, Quentin's us. Very good.
And
then there's
hold on. Edith and Earl, what's the relation to Grandma and Grandpa?
I believe Earl would be Grandma and Grandpa, or I mean son, right?
Okay.
And then Edith
son
son is Edith and Earl's kid. But then isn't there another sister?
Who's on first?
Yeah, right. Is that who the fuck was that?
97X.
And then there's Jed. There's Jed, cousin.
Earl's grandpa's son, and son is his son's daughter.
Right.
What's fucking confusing, you fucking
And
idiot.
Earth is green.
Well, there is a guy named Earth. He comes in late in the program.
Earth
Go
Brown.
ahead. Sorry, we're interrupting.
And then there's Satan, because every good story has Satan involved. And there's mentioned Captain John Green, who is Grandpa's brother. And am I forgetting anyone? There's Carmichael, police officer, and his
Jed
widowed
is probably
wife.
one of the main characters. You haven't mentioned Jed yet.
I did mention Jed. Jed, her
You
cousin.
did?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
And then Jane, his wife, daughter Judy, and his boy Elroy. All
and
right.
Lenore is probably someone that
Lenore runs the gallery, one of the galleries that Earl always tries to get his paintings at. And then Lenore is also, I believe, the woman that Carmichael, the police officer who was killed, was having an affair with.
Yes, that's what I gathered as well.
Right.
and Jed is whose son?
I would assume that's Captain Green's.
Yeah, because he's a cousin.
Oh, no, wait, because he's a cousin. So it would be Edith, one of Edith's or Earl's brothers or sisters.
Yeah, it's it's one of those. Hey, he did a good job by
and Jed got wrapped up in some bad shit, and but they explain why in one of the songs because like everybody hits hard times.
I feel like we just made it way more confusing, which I'm fine with.
It was hard for me to when I first listened to this when it came out. I was like, I'm not grasping what's going on.
Yeah.
Where's the fucking crazy ass guitar solos and stuff? And I tried to listen and then when I tried to read what I thought were lyrics, were not lyrics. I had no idea what it was until I put it came with the DVD, and then I put the DVD in. I said, "Oh, this is what's in the booklet." So it's like fucking Neil, man.
Exactly. See, I think Mario's right. This is a good contender for a fucking Neil, man.
This album makes my fucking head hurt. So anyway, they all live in this town, Greendale, and it's supposedly a nice little place, but it's got a lot of secrets. That's the theme.
Yes, it's the California positive version of Twin Peaks.
And then, so Jed, cousin Jed, which is what we know him as, shoots a police officer, Carmichael.
Right.
And that's kind of the big. I feel like that's one of the big things that's
the conflict in the story.
Yeah, that's the big conflict
because Jed was one of ours.
Yes.
But Jed was also dealing some fucking weed and coke apparently. Mm-hmm. And that's because Jed was riding with Satan, apparently. And Satan is a major character that, he's the catalyst of a lot of trouble, like in any story. And in this one, he actually resides in the town jail because he prefers it there, because he loves to see all the people that fucked up their lives, that he helped fuck up their lives. And it's kind of like his collection of work in the town jail.
Also, in the movie Greendale, the devil is dressed like the lead singer of every ska band.
Yes. Or dressed like a cast member of, what was that movie in the 80s? Streets of Fire.
I've never seen it.
Oh, you never saw that one? That's the one that had it had a huge soundtrack. I Can Dream About You by Dan Hartman.
I've seen St. Elmo's Fire.
No, nothing like that. Okay. But yeah, he's
dressed. Dan Harmon was also a musician.
Like the
he wrote Greendale.
Like the 80s, like the devil never left the 80s. That's what it looks like. He bought all his clothes at Chess King.
It definitely looks like that, and it's weird to watch the movie and remember this was filmed in 2003, which
right.
Not the 80s.
But that's the devil, so he's supposed to have offensive fashion choices, I guess. I don't know. Not like he's supposed to be cool or anything. So the devil plays a huge part in that. And then Sun is is like kind of like grandpa's favorite, and she is a really smart girl, but she's got this wild side to her that we learn about in a few songs until the very end.
Did anyone else?
Also concerned.
I had to look up what a filly was.
Did you really?
Yeah, I didn't know that was a fucking term.
Yeah,
it's like it's supposed to be about a horse.
Well, that's
a young wild horse.
Yeah, that's what she is. She's a young wild child, but she's keeping it all. Her parents, what I gather, Edith and Earl moved onto the double L, changed it to the double E. They weren't afraid to stir the pot and make trouble and cause a scandal in town by doing that. But now they're at the point where they're trying to shield their child from that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but their child, by keeping her at home and not letting her go out, and she's an excellent student. She's studying up onto how to save the environment and manipulate the media and stuff like that. So it's not like she's sheltered she's not like Carrie, as Stephen King referenced there,
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we get it.
She doesn't have the crazy mom, and I don't want them to see your dirty pillows. So, but she's very smart, and all that like being a good student, all the homework and stuff comes out in the end in what she does.
It's essentially the story of one person's split-second terrible decision and the effects it has on. And
because Grandpa has to, which is one of my favorite songs. They're trying to interview Grandpa, and that sets off this whole thing. And Grandpa dies essentially, which sets off the catalyst, I think, for Sun to kind of go off the rails and start being like really taking it seriously as far as her activism. And then she kind of meets this dude named Earth. So
there's a lot of issues addressed here. The media is one of them, and the media's agenda. The police force and the corruption in the police force, and
which we're still dealing with today.
Right. A lot of these issues that he deals with here, big corporations kind of undermining, environmental efforts to save the environment, and who's partnered with who to garner influence in politics. All this stuff. That's what fucking timeless about this. It's like
time traveling.
It's like a good novel where you can read something like Our Town.
Oh yeah.
And it's still, a lot of it still applies today.
Right. Well, even the stuff about like the many different facets of protesting and stuff like that, where you have this person who's genuinely protesting a cause she believes in, and then it starts to gain some like attention in the news, and then her temptation shifts to like just do this more for popularity maybe, but then also the other side of that where she's protesting a great cause, and then the FBI gets involved, and it's just this. There's a lot of stuff that like
it's because she's exposing the secrets,
right?
And so the FBI is, and then it shows like the agenda of the media, to garner favor with whoever it may be, the White House, the FBI, or whatever, so they can have an in on whatever they're working on. They will smear this person, and they do it with Cousin Jed. Even though he did kill a police officer, which is terrible, but Neil touches on the media coverage of the police officer and of Jed, and how how biased it is.
Right.
Despite him, he actually did a crime, but how they frame the whole thing. And same thing with her. They bust, that's like she got busted for possession of pot, right? And then they said, oh no, that was a big mistake. But we all know once that gets out there in the news, it doesn't matter if it's a mistake. It's out there.
Right. And
people will believe what they want to believe. So he touches on media manipulation there too. And you're right, Russ. It's
really interesting that
it's all timeless.
Man, that we're listening to this record in these days, And I've been doing a lot of research, and I posted today about some people may not even know, but there was a horrible murder of another black man, Ronald Green, which was covered up by the police, and you can watch the footage if you feel like doing that, and it's awful stuff, and you can hear the police talking over the things and then saying like, oh, are your body cams on? And then you see them turn their body cams off, and it's like all after the murder and everything, and then the footage gets released years later. This was 2019, I think, so not even that long ago, but it's just really interesting that, there's these things that are happening today, and Neil... this wasn't super long ago, but 2003
years.
We're coming on. It's still a long time.
Think about what was happening in 2003. We invaded Iraq.
Yep.
Right.
You know, we were still feeling the effects of the 9/11 attacks.
Oh yeah.
You know, he is obviously criticizing the Patriot Act. That's when that came into play. You know, so the government could wiretap your phone or search your house or detain you, you know, without probable cause, you know, and so all that was going on at that time. And then there were people profiting off of all that.
Right.
You know, there was like, okay, why did we invade Kuwait? Well,
And then there's because he
they
touches
were our
on the oil corporations and
right. They were,
really,
you know, we would send SEAL teams in there or whatever to protect just oil facilities.
Right.
You know, we weren't fighting for freedom. We were protecting interests.
Yeah,
you
but
know? People were making
accomplished.
a shit ton of money. That's right.
I
Mission
mean, and
accomplished, right? We
I
found
don't
those
wanna-
weapons of mass destruction, didn't we? That we gave to him in the first place.
Man,
Oh,
that one
Jesus.
didn't age well, huh?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I mean, we're still dealing with it today with the fucking vaccines, man. Because there's places there are lesser, you know, there are lesser privileged countries where the companies that control who and who doesn't get the vaccines have the ability to give these vaccines, but aren't. The facilities are there. This is stuff you can look up. It's provable.
Yeah.
There are medical facilities that can produce the vaccines and give them to third world, you know, countries. I mean, whatever. I know that's a term that whatever, but
That's a true term, Russ. You can
Thank
say
you.
third world country.
I know, whatever. But my point is that stuff is still happening today with corporations, with pharmaceutical companies, and it's still happening with oil. It's still happening with all of these things.
It's been happening with food.
Food
forever.
is exactly, yeah. And when you think
if
about
we let our farmers loose, they could produce enough food to feed the world 3 times over.
yes,
We're
and
paying them not to grow.
yes, and I was listening to this indigenous rights. This guy who comes from the Lakota tribe, Nick Estes, today was talking about how if indigenous policies were enacted, it would benefit everyone, you know. But these things just, you know, and obviously I bring that up because Neil is a big activist for
Right.
Similar things. But
Wait a minute.
to your point, Mike, about farmers and stuff, there was an alliance even back in like the 80s. It was literally called something like the Cowboy Indian Alliance, where these guys realized if we adopted these indigenous, ideologies as far as trying to work together to come to a common goal, it actually makes sense.
Right.
You know, but if there's profit to be gained from capitalism, then that gets in the way. So Neil's touching on fucking all of that in this.
Right.
You know?
You got to always follow the money.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he doesn't say that here, but he implies it. You always have to follow the money. Who benefits? You always got to look at it like that.
I thought we were doing better as a government. I just saw that they passed a law to limit women's rights in Texas and different places. I thought it seems like we really have our.
We're not doing good, Luke, because they haven't done anything about that here in Massachusetts, and I wish they would, because I'm tired of taking shit all day for being a man. All right, can we get into the album, please?
Wait, hold on. Joe Rogan says straight white guys are going to be.
Well, thank God I'm not one of those.
Yeah, right. Joe, he takes.
Well, hold on. While we're during our really shitty synopsis, I do want to ask you guys. Obviously, with all these
I
characters,
think our synopsis was great, but
Yeah,
I think
fuck you,
Shu did a
Luke.
great
it
job.
was
You
terrible.
didn't like that?
It was horrible. You would
Hey,
have
why don't
gotten
you get a
at most
Greendale
a
map
C-
tattoo on your big fat belly?
You would have gotten at
Fucking
most
straight
a
white
D
asshole.
plus if you were
really?
giving a book
Would
report
have
on
been better
Green
if
Day.
it had some kind of fucking shitty clown that lived in a sewer and preyed on
Wait,
children or something like
wait.
that.
Hold
dare
on.
you.
You're gonna
Dumbass.
Why are you gonna?
How
What?
dare you.
You're the one who brought up Stephen King.
You
in
bring
this
up Stephen
episode.
King in every episode, and don't worry, the landing on water thing I'm sure is coming. Up.
You brought it up. You brought it up.
No,
I
listen,
wasn't even thinking about that at all.
I have a serious
It
question.
would have
It's
been
not
a better
about
album of
it's not about
Cooch
dicks or
Music.
cum. I swear.
Wait. Let me just wrap this all up by saying it should have been Bernie. Okay, let's go on.
All right, yeah.
Wait,
Woo.
or it should have been
but I mean that absolutely
Bernard
seriously.
Bernard Shaky.
Yes, either one of them.
Listen, is there a bad Bernie?
Bernie Mac,
Bernie
honestly.
Madoff. Never mind, Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, he's the bad
Never
one.
mind.
But Bernie Mac, one of the best comedians of all time.
I know, man. Tragic loss.
Anyway,
Yeah, Bernie Mac was fucking great. I'm watching Def Jam. Have you guys seen like all of Def Jam? I'm fucking watching it right now from the start. It's great stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
Does Neil talk about the Def Jam Comedy Hour?
He probably fits it in here somewhere,
Like Andy
dude.
Greendale.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Russ is like Literally, he's like, I want to see if I can make the wildest tangents ever. He's like, okay, Neil Young, Bernard Shaky, Bernie.
Do you guys like broccoli?
Bernie Mac.
You want to know why?
Yeah.
There it is.
He's
How much is
drinking
that?
red
Show me the bottle. Turn it around. How much is gone?
Oh, it's all gone.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, Eddie Vedder, let's chill out there.
Red wine, baby.
So before we get into song by song,
acorns not falling far from the tree. Red wine, Danny.
Before we get into it song by song, I want to ask you guys a serious question because I've been thinking about this. With all these characters, obviously Neil probably sees himself in a lot of them, elements of himself. But do you think there's one character he identifies with more than the others?
Yes.
Who?
Grandpa.
You both think Grandpa? I had Grandpa too.
I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Grandpa and Grandma are him and Peggy living out on the ranch outside of town.
Okay.
Yep.
To me, that's probably how this story started.
Luke, you talked earlier about lyrics you really liked. I'll sum it up for you right here because this has been something we've talked about in almost every episode of this podcast. As far as Neil dealing with his success and you talked about media. That's always been a weird thing for Neil, especially with interviews.
Oh yeah, interviews for years at one point.
Yeah, and Neil's always been fucking weird with interviews. Here's one line I think that really sums it up is this one here when he says, "It ain't an honor to be on TV, and it ain't a duty either."
Right.
That right there, when Grandpa says that, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking Neil.
That's
right
Neil.
There.
Yeah. No, so I agree with you. I had that too, that probably Grandpa the most. Do you think it says something that Grandpa dies during this album?
I think,
or is it just a part of the story?
I mean, it's both. I think it's both, and I think he needs,
and not just dies because of the media.
Right. Yes.
Right, yeah.
No, I think metaphorically speaking, mythologically speaking, I think that says a lot to the way Neil thinks, especially, not to bring it back to Bernie, but it's similar because Neil supported Bernie, whatever. But to me, Bernie, it didn't even matter as much that he didn't become president as much as what seeds he planted in the younger generation. And I think it's very similar with Neil, where what I brought up earlier with Sun Green, the catalyst for her to really take her activism seriously in this story was the death of Grandpa, right? Like that, right after we find out that he dies, pretty much the next thing that's happening story-wise is Sun Green chaining herself to statues and being a full-on activist. So I think, Luke, to answer the question, I think it does say something mythologically, metaphorically in this story that Neil has to die if we're going to use the comparison, right? The closest comparison to Neil and Grandpa, that he has to die, and like you said, via the media, to inspire a younger generation to fucking take this shit seriously.
Okay.
I think it's Neil saying, hey, if you get anything from this, get that, like, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got and in my age and at this place and in this role. For you Sun Greens out there, you Earth Browns out there, to fucking listen and have the ears to hear, not to get fucking Jesus on you, but to take this and to now produce, to now go forward with this and make real change, do real shit with what I'm saying.
Right, because I see it the same way, Russ, but I see him as the Grandpa's like the last remnants of that hippie dream Neil always talks about.
Yes.
So he's that generation, and that he's dying. He died, and they're all